Hi, everyone. This is Steph, the Educator, and I am back for another show. I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm working on several projects right now. Um, I just want to, okay. Welcome back, everybody. You've been watching. Literally, this coming up end of the summer is going to be 2 years that this idea of a podcast um, jumped into my head because I started back teaching full time. And before then, I was just freelancing education guru because I was frustrated with education. I started tutoring, freelancing, and working part time, contract work part time. Went back to teaching because I realized I wasn't making enough money to fund retirement and my life at the same time. It's hard. Entrepreneurship is very, very hard. So I went back to teaching full time. I still have some projects, entrepreneurial projects, but I wanted to start a podcast to educate parents to build compassion on the side of insiders of education and outsiders of education, because I feel like there's miscommunication, misunderstanding on both sides, because our viewpoint of education is normally from just being a student in a educational setting and not necessarily the teacher, so, or the educator or the administrator. So I feel like that there is misunderstanding from the outsider's perspective, and it's a narrow minded, and I'm not trying to talk about anyone, but it really is a narrow perspective when you don't understand the business of education. So I want to talk about our testing season. And I call it a season because it used to be testing like days or dates where everybody in the state would test on the same day, and we rip the side of our booklets open. I don't know if you guys remember those days with the pencil. They even gave us a script to say about how to open your booklet to be tested. So we would put our pencils on the side of the booklet, and the perforated seal that sealed the booklet closed, you would kind of tear that open, and then we would read a script about how to bubble things in, and then we would tell the students you may begin and then set the time or what have you. Every single year things change. There could be small nuances of things that change or big changes. So in the last 3 years that I've been in education, and I'll say the last 3 testing seasons, I've been teaching full time. This is my 2.5 years now. I started mid-year teaching full time at a charter school, and then I went back to a regular ISD. Both charter schools and ISDs are both public schools and publicly funded. But the difference is that charter schools are teeny tiny compared to ISDs, independent school districts. And I'm going to try not to speak in so many acronyms because I know it's confusing. So what I want to talk to you about is how testing has changed. It used to be we all would test on a Tuesday for reading, And then we would test that Wednesday, the next day, for math. And then maybe the next week, we would test for social studies for a certain grade level, or science for a certain grade level, or writing for a certain grade level. When we tested writing, prior, it would be a separate writing test, and we would only test those writing skills at like the fourth grade, seventh grade level. I'm not sure what they did in high school. I don't think it was really tested in high school. They would, I guess, make sure you're proficient by the time you got to high school, because you had so much writing to do. But we do not test writing separately anymore. We test writing within core topics like math, reading, science, and social studies. So it's all incorporated. We will have several tests, um, questions that would be multiple choice, and certain ones that would be free response uh, questions, and they will test your writing skills within the topic. So, reading and writing will be together, but you also have a writing portion of your math, a writing portion of your social studies, and a writing portion of science. Great things. Those are some great things that have changed. Another thing that has changed is now a actual season and not a test day. So we do not test all on the same day on Tuesday for reading. I have a client who uh, they are a part of McKinney ISD in Texas, North Texas, and they tested for reading last week. I work for Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District, and we tested this week for reading, and we won't test for math until May. And I believe in McKinney they tested for math last week. So it's been either last week or it's this week, not certain. But it's a season. It's not everyone take it at the same time. Um, Testing has gone from 6 hours or the whole school day, or to the end of the school day, wherever the students end of the school day, basically. Because if they finish early, what we would do is assess how many students finish early and relocate to testers, and then the other kids yeah, would go on with their schedule. It went from all day to 4 hours, and they designed the test to be if a student was proficient, or that it was achievable to finish in 4 hours, or or 3 hours. Now we have gone back to giving the students more time because of the writing components of the test, of each test. So they have all school day again. I do know that there were 2 hours left in, not even 2 hours left in school. And most testers were finished with the reading component, and just relocating some of the students, and other students were able to just follow their regular schedule, or whatever modified schedule that we prepared for them. So it's a season. Everyone is taking their tests within a window, which is, I feel like it's good to do that. And another thing that has changed is we don't use booklets because everybody's test is online. Um, they have tools for accommodations online. We teach the students how to use the tools that are available to them, specific to math, specific to reading, specific to all the other core topics that they may have. If they have a reference chart or material like the periodic table, then we teach the students how to access that digitally. So the students are, the children are very, very um, skilled at accessing those accommodations and tools, digital tools, to help them pre- be prepared for the test, to take the test and do their best. And I heard that AI is going to be grading the writing portion of the test. It's going to be some kind of technology where it is automated or artificial intelligently automated to grade the writing portion of the test, which is very fascinating to me. Um, and I'd love to see what the results are going to be this year. I'm so excited to see that. I personally have been training my students to be better writers because I add writing components all throughout my units. They hate it. They absolutely hate it. They hate that I check for mechanics, but I do it. With that being said, I love testing time. Some teachers do not like it. I do. Especially, I love teaching a tested topic. Some teachers are very intimidated by that, but I'm not. I like teaching a tested topic because I like to know whether I'm getting better at my craft. And that is one way to find out whether you're getting better at your craft, is how the kids are performing. If what you're teaching is just teaching to yourself and the kids are not grasping it, the students aren't grasping it, then you're wasting your time. Because really, the whole idea of the students being in your class is to perform and to learn what you're trying to teach them. And the only way that we can gauge whether that is happening is to assess them. So I know there are a lot of people who are anti-test. However, we are all human, and when we have control over what we teach and how we teach, we tend to teach what we are comfortable or like the most or think is fun, and that is normal. But um, when our students are assessed about what they're supposed to know, then we also get to know whether we did a good job, instead of it being just pie in the sky. I teach science, and it's just whatever that's related to science. Today it's going to be rainbows. Tomorrow it's going to be Saturn in the sky. So I I am a fan of assessment. Although I feel like, and pardon me, guys, allergies. Look, pollen is in the air. We've had so much rain in our area in Texas, and then it wants to be sunny, then it wants to be cool, then it wants to be 90. We like our wildflowers are growing everywhere. We got pollen everywhere, so I got a little little scratchy throat, a little going on, but we're just gonna push through. So I was talking about how I believe in assessment, but I also believe that we need school reform because I feel like our assessments are limiting. And I know that everybody feels like our kids are being just tested out the wazoo, tested out, like, oh my gosh. But when I started doing research today, and I love doing research, I just don't have the luxury of just going as far as I'd like to go all the time. And I'm going to continue this particular research. I've talked to a couple of people, and I got a little bit of understanding of advanced testing and testing to get into college and things like that, how that is done at the high school level. So, and my research has led me to really go to the beginning of school and how school was created. Um, Last year, when we came back, well, actually, it was the year before, but last year, I feel like was the first year that we didn't really have to wear masks to school and wasn't really afraid of um, like terrified of COVID. Yes, COVID is still around, it's lurking. People are still being hospitalized and, sadly die from COVID. But last year, I feel like was the first year that we were really looking forward to trying to get back to a norm of not having to be so careful about just being around each other or fretful being close to people that's talking to us, right? So yes, we were mindful about wearing masks if we didn't feel well, or if we had a little bit of a cough or some or sniffle. But last year, I feel like was the first full year, and I felt like it was children coming back from the wilderness. Like we lost all kind of social skills that in that short amount of time of COVID, we seem to have fallen back in our social skills and dealing with one another, what's acceptable to say and do around one another, how we interact and touch each other, what playful touch is, what is not playful touch, what is appropriate voice levels, how to address people, how to view anger, things like that. So I felt like we were like, I don't know, like I was imagining that I was taken back to a land of before school was organized. And we were just like, okay, I think we're just going to have a little schoolhouse and everybody's going to be in here from pre-K. If you can go to the restroom by yourself, come on in, and all the way to 18 or however old you want to be in here if you want to know how to count or read. So I feel like we were kind of thrust back in those days, and it wasn't real organized and it wasn't real like structured. And when we really did have structure in education before, I felt like that on numerous occasions, and I felt like I was in an uphill battle for I just want to teach. I want to get back to what I was doing and how I was doing it. And um, I just wasn't accustomed to how it was in the beginning when, before we had paper and pencil. So I started researching about Horace Mann. He was a, a lawmaker, also a educator, advocate. Formal education really was born out of Massachusetts. When I did some more research, Massachusetts is number one in education and ranking for test scores. And I'll get back to that in a second. So Massachusetts is number one. I took down the information of Texas. Texas is number 39. I was a little disappointed in that, but not surprised. And all these were tests of reading, math, at the lower grade levels, at their state level testing, as well as SAT, ACT, and MCAT scores. So all of these are the test scores that are ranking. And let me see, where did I get that information from? I got that from Forbes. So when I did that research, I tried to go with a credible source, but I got the information from Forbes. It's recent about the ranking. Um, I even looked up Oklahoma because I went to college in Oklahoma. I went to most of my schooling was in Oklahoma, elementary, like my elementary years, middle school, and high school years was in Oklahoma. And I remember, oh, this led me to another rabbit hole. Anyway, Oklahoma is ranked 51. Yeah, it was shocking to me. Um, because a lot of people would like to give an image of Mississippi and some other southern states to be like lower ranking, even Louisiana, but Oklahoma, as far as Forbes and that article was concerned and how they counted testing, they ranked number 51. Oklahoma have their own tests now. When I was in school, I do remember something called the Iowa test, and Iowa scores high and ranks high in testing as well. Got to look up those numbers so I can give you those, but I do remember seeing that Iowa scored high. I do remember California achievement tests for some reason, but now I feel like Oklahoma has its own testing in elementary. I'm not sure what they do for secondary, if that's the same test across the, not the same test, but if they are in charge of their own tests for primary and secondary, because it could be different. So I felt like that was fascinating. What I think can skew numbers is that some states will let students test over and over again at and maybe a certain amount, maybe up to 3 times free. And then there are certain states that will allow students to do ACT, SAT, things like that at a cost after one try. So when there's a cost associated, then you just have fewer people testing, and when they do test, they're generally trying to prepare for the test. When you have states that allow students to test over and over again, SAT for free of charge, or the district puts the bill for the students, then you have more entries and that it skews averages. So I want to put that out there as far as numbers are concerned, and how big Texas is, and how they may have a larger hurdle to overcome because they have so many entries and the numbers are just hard to average out. I don't know. Uh, I also want to put out there that I really feel like there should be some kind of tracking or testing of students, or an inclusion of some type of scoring of technical skills or technical certificate earning type of professions, so that we can still assess whether districts or school systems or states are successful even if a child doesn't choose to go to college. So that's a good question. So if a child has different experiences, then we do not know how they're doing, as far as, or whether they're on the right track for something that is more um, technical, or something that does not demand you have to go to a traditional 4-year college. So I feel like that's where we're missing the mark. I feel like there are a lot of, people come to Texas, people come to different places to for opportunities. And it's not just because we got lots of land in Texas. It's not just because of taxes. It is literally because people can be successful in Texas without going to school, without going to a college. And I feel like people have discovered some gifts and talents that they did not explore this gift or talent while they were in a traditional school setting. Um, and I feel like we need to expand the assessment of how schools are doing, not just on state test scores, not just on national test scores like SAT and ACT and MCATs, but also we need to figure out and track how many people are being successful as plumbers, how many people are being successful as video editors, how many people are being successful at, because people are making money off TikTok because they know how to edit. They know how to um, put the filters on, yeah, on their makeup videos. So I don't know. They know how to do these things and they know how to do them well, but I don't know if they learned this in school or if it was cultivated in school, or maybe it was. Our theater arts teacher is very passionate and she teaches our students so many things that, but we don't track it. We don't assess it on a large scale. There's so many people who are um, being very successful at cartooning. There's just so many people, voiceovers, things that aren't being tracked by our public schools that I feel like we need to start tracking them. We need to start figuring out how many of our students are choosing to do um, X, Y, and Z, and how many students are choosing A, B, and C. And if they are choosing X, Y, and Z, how can we help them cultivate those skills? And how can we show that we are being successful as a society? I don't believe that we aren't. I believe that we have resisted looking like that we are in a recession because people are still earning money. People are still being creative. People are still getting it done despite hardships. And that takes skill and knowledge. And why we have not been able, I don't believe people are all like embezzling money from somewhere. I believe people are really digging deep, finding talents that they may not have been tested in school, but they are finding these talents and they're using them to make money. We need to figure out what we can do to cultivate that in the public school, what we can do to track that in the public school so that we can reassess how school is done. I really feel like we need a reform. We need reform in the schools because schools were created by men way back in the day. Um, and it has been reformed a little bit to, and it used to be men that were the only teachers in this country. Now we have more women in this country that teach, which I feel like that's one of the reasons why um, education is ignored, because women are ignored a lot. I'm going to be silent for a minute. Anyhow, um, but I feel like that we have followed the structure of Horace Mann, other pioneers in education, which they've done lots of things for education, done so many studies in Germany and how things were done there. Also, Socrates and all what, if you go way back in before Christ, lots of things have changed in education. since that time. It used to be that people didn't read, they learned through storytelling. Then we had the written language, and we had uh, the number systems, and people communicated with numbers and letters and symbols from way back when, but that was not traditionally how people were taught. Only in the early 19th century did reading become popular. I feel like education is almost moving full circle in that, where we are getting away from a lot of reading and we're doing a lot of storytelling. That's how people learn on YouTube. That's how people are learning through podcasts. That's how people are learning. It's just becoming full circle. So I feel like we really need to have um, reform, and we need to get people at round tables that are diverse to talk about this, and not have it be someone or a group of people to come together who've only been to private schools, who, who have trust funds, who have, it's got to be people who have, rolled up their sleeves, dealt with all kinds of diverse people throughout their career in education, has been in the grind every day. I feel like there needs to be committees that um, are fully diverse, and not just made up in a monolithic world, but a very diverse world with diverse backgrounds, to come to the table and talk about real reform and not just a babysitting business. I am an advocate of people, and I started this podcast because I want everyone to have opportunity that may not have had opportunity before. My mother, like I said, my mother was an immigrant, and I'm like first generation born in America, and my mother had great hopes for me, and education made a difference in my life and in my children's lives. So I'm just a big advocate of learning, whether it be for a formal post education, or whether it be for trade schools or certification. In fact, I'm looking to be certified in something else so that I can do something post, um, not post graduation, but post retirement. I just feel like we need to have an open mind, and think about testing, think about ranking of educational systems in a whole different way. And I feel like it starts from tearing down education and what we think it should look like, and building it back up to what it really reflects in our society. So I have to say about that. I'm going to continue to do some research. In fact, I have an interview coming up with someone I know that has spent most of their career in social work. And so right now, she's in education and training for the state of Oklahoma. And she gave me some insight about uh, people who may have dropped out of school and their journey in education. And I want to have her on the show so we could talk about that. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about interviewing um, a gentleman who wrote a book that I'm haven't read yet. He's sending me a copy because he wants to sign the copy, um, so that I can interview him and get to know what his words is about. But he's met former President Obama. regarding his work. So I'm excited to have him on the show. I just am looking forward to just talking to so many people and getting insight from all over the place. I hope you guys enjoy the show and some of the topics I talk about. I will be on YouTube really, really soon. I know I've said this before, but really, really soon. Okay. I'm excited about it. Real soon. I'll be on YouTube, and you'll get to see and binge watch all the shows on my YouTube channel soon. I'm excited. And if you have anything that you'd like to ask me, please feel free to email me. My email address is evanAvery1@gmail.com. Long story, y'all. I did have an email with the name of one of my companies, and I forgot the password. So this password I never forget because it's my children's name together. EvanAvery1@gmail.com. That's where it's at, guys. So email me if you have any questions, or if you have insight on what you'd like to talk about, then I'd love to talk to you guys about it. In the meantime, I will see you later. I'll talk to you guys soon. I can't wait.